been attending the Hit 'em with the Griddy school of advanced rates.
One guy has to get you in to win it.
We need Claypool to make the team. Otherwise, I am actually worried about Griddy.
We all have to make choices in life. Some of us enter new friendships, jobs, or relationships. Some make new habits like going to the gym, joining a hiking club, or learning a trade. However, this fall, NFL fans across the world are spending millions of dollars on various sports betting and fantasy football contests. Sites like FanDuel, DraftKings, PrizePicks, Yahoo, and the new rising giant in the betting space, Underdog Fantasy, make millions off fans and degenerates' hard-earned choices. This past summer, one man, who goes by the name HitEmWiththeGriddy, has decided to make many choices in fantasy football that has the fate of his entire bank account and his Twitter reputation on the line. One such choice is a massive investment in an NFL underdog who has fought to keep his career in the NFL. And that man is Chase Claypool.
Can you send Griddy in? I need to tell him about Chase Claypool.
Trying to get to Claypool took his eyes off of it. Not sure it would have gone for much, but this crowd gives him a little feedback.
I get you went to a school that's also arrogant and hasn't won anything of note in years, but you need to be a professional.
I know I'm a top 5 receiver. I know I'm a top 3 receiver.
So you're saying that you want this? Yes.
I was playing my best football on TikTok.
Claypool averaged just 2 catches and 20 yards per game, a massive fall off from where he was just a couple years ago with the Steelers.
I was back on special teams last year, and I realized how much I loved it. I've learned from all the mistakes. You know, I feel like anytime you make a mistake or anytime you have mishaps, you have to learn from them. And if you learn from them, you grow from it.
There are reports that, oh God, my Bills' Chase Claypool is the most consistent wide receiver at OTAs.
We gotta stop being stupid.
What is it? This guy's a psychopath.
Griddy.
Hit 'em with the Griddy.
Mike Bulldog, or simply just Griddy, is an avid drafter of Underdog's paid best ball tournaments, going by the username HitEmWiththeGriddy18. He has gotten a considerable Twitter following for his outlandish best ball strategies and obsession with Chase Claypool. Most of his tweets get a significant amount of replies and attention, including from various best ball YouTubers. While a guy caring this much about Claypool to draft thousands of dollars worth of teams with him might seem like an elaborate troll, I have videographic proof that somebody is drafting these teams.
Hit him with the Griddy 18. I mean, this guy's a wild card. We don't know what this guy's going to do, but he needs a receiver. He needs receivers. He has 1 through 7 rounds. I mean, if he drafts Najee Harris, this guy's donating. Are you kidding me? What is it? This guy's a psychopath. Hit him with the Griddy 18. If you make the playoffs out of this group over me, if you get in the playoffs in this group, I will give you $25 for a big board entry, or a Best Ball Mania entry next season. That's how confident I feel in this team, and how confident I feel that your team will not make the playoffs. Right now. Stay tuned.
Griddy has spent a lot of money on best ball tournaments, as many experienced best ball grinders do. To illustrate this, you might notice the red badge in front of Griddy's name in the last video. This is Underdog Fantasy's experience badge, as paid fantasy contests have to differentiate experienced players by law. The red badge is the highest experience level, telling us that Griddy has drafted at least 1,000 paid drafts in his career. This is called being a badge bro. Badge bros take a particular interest in Underdog's premier tournament, Best Ball Mania 5, which has over 670,000 entrants and a grand prize of $1.5 million to the winner. Furthermore, Griddy, like many badge bros, has entered the 150 max entrants for this tournament. Each entry is $25 each, and for the math-fearing people out there, the maximum 150 entries equals $3,750 in entry fees.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
As this fantasy site is the main focus of this video, let's discuss how this contest on Underdog works and how best ball in general plays compared to your regular fantasy football drafts. This tournament has 4 rounds. Round 1 is the longest, spanning from weeks 1 to 14. Rounds 2 and 3 are both weeks 15 and 16 respectively, and the final fantasy football championship is the last week of the fantasy season in week 17. Those that can survive all 3 rounds advance to the final championship, which is a much bigger pool of 538 finalists competing for the $1.5 million cash prize. The breakdowns for Best Ball Mania heavily favor week 17, as you can see with these payouts. Advancing to week 17 will get you the aforementioned $3,750 back from the 150 entries, but I cannot stress how difficult it is to even get to week 17. The odds of advancing to week 17 are 0.08%, an incredibly slim chance. For the 150 maxers, this number increases to about 12%, meaning you spend around $3,000 each year to get to week 17 once every 8 years.
Wow. Unbelievable.
While this might seem like playing a really bad roulette, and it is, Mike frequently references this point without understanding why people pay money in this sport versus other forms of gambling. There are hundreds of hours of analysis and strategies from other content creators and thousands of dollars going into research for this game to give you a noticeable edge that a slot machine or other casino games won't give you. Griddy acts as if this game is rigged and honestly could be described as a fantasy nihilist, if not simply a contrarian. He thinks he's smarter than the rest of the field by assuming, like many fantasy players, that the game is all luck. In a way, Griddy's underdog story is like the man he obsesses over. For example, Griddy has a significant success in underdog fantasy, and like Claypool, Griddy's downfall might be of his own doing. Or maybe he's just Antonio Brown and becomes a poster stream.
Claypool.
Chase Claypool. Who is Chase Claypool? Chase was a Canadian-born NFL player who played for 4 years at Notre Dame after being recruited from his high school in Abbotsford, British Columbia in Canada. He boasted an impressive 66 receptions, 1,037 yards, and 13 touchdowns in his senior year at Notre Dame, which gave him the pedigree to be selected 49th overall in the 2020 draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. In his rookie season, Claypool showed the signs of what could have been a promising career, with 109 targets for 62 receptions, 873 yards, and most strikingly 9 touchdowns. This included a miracle game against Philadelphia in Week 4, with 11 targets, 7 receptions, 110 yards, and shockingly 4 touchdowns in a single game. However, after a disappointing exit for the Steelers in the playoffs, Claypool showed a gradual and later significant decline in his career. In Claypool's sophomore year, he posted similar yards and fewer receptions to his rookie year, with only 2 touchdowns on the year. With fellow 2020 receivers making serious year 2 leaps, such as Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and T. Higgins, along with the 2021 rookie breakouts like the legendary Jamar Chase, Jaden Waddle, and Devontae Smith, Claypool was clearly not performing anywhere close to his rookie year expectations. As if things couldn't get any worse, he was then traded to Chicago for what would be the number 33 overall pick in the middle of the 2022 season. He would fail to score a single touchdown and had his best weekly yardage total of only 51 yards. In 2023, he was then traded to Miami for a 2025 7th and 6th round pick swap, a devastating sign of a player on the roster bubble. Over the entire 2023 season, he would total just 8 receptions, 77 receiving yards, and a single touchdown, which would not be enough to match that miracle game in Philadelphia.
I know I'm a top 5 receiver. Yeah. I know I'm a top 3 receiver.
And finally, we arrived to the 2023 offseason. On May 3rd, Chase Claypool is signed to a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills, and Griddy is elated. However, after being on the roster bubble for a year, it's pretty clear at this point Claypool is humbled and is just willing to do anything to make the team, even playing on special teams.
What do you think's led to you kind of, bouncing around a little bit here the last couple of years?
Yeah, I just think, there's changes that happen through organizations and, through my journey, things have changed, and sometimes things work well for you and sometimes they don't, but you just have to learn how to adjust and make the most out of a situation, never be too down, and just, remind yourself why you do what you do and keep working every day.
Claypool even had reports of being the leading receiver in training camp.
We gotta stop being stupid!
That being said, there were several reports of players like Tyrell Shavers, Mac Hollins, Khalil Shakir, and the upcoming rookie Keon Coleman getting buzzed.
Wow!
Eric Beimfer of Ship Chasing even noted that virtually every receiver on the Bills was getting positive buzz except Claypool. To be fair, this absence was due to Claypool suffering a toe injury in late July, leaving him working out on the sideline in early August. But the mere mention of Claypool being upstage made Griddy respond in a way Pittsburgh Steeler Chase Claypool probably would. By being a salty little Claypool. This boast is exactly what's wrong with the ones in practice. Griddy has to latch on to 70% share. Griddy has to latch on to 70%. Griddy has to latch on to 70%. Griddy has to latch on to 70% share. Leaving this on Wednesday 74% share. Leaving out for 2% share Saturday. He's just my bet.
Stay tuned.
This injury would lead us to the ultimate conclusion of the tale of Chase Claypool.
We need Claypool to make the team. Otherwise, I am actually worried about
with
Griddy.
him being released from the Buffalo Bills. Claypool took the humble route this time, but unfortunately is close to over for him. He was released with an injury settlement, but as of this recording, Claypool has not signed with the team. And honestly, what situation is going to be better for him than the Buffalo Bills anyway? That being said, Griddy is still on the other side of his success. This season is still fresh, and it isn't over until it's over. Let's get into the nitty-gritty and dissect where HitEmWiththeGriddy's draft and insane draft strategy falters in this tournament. This is going to get a bit nerdy, but it's important as many of his strategies on the surface might seem appealing to the casual drafter. However, as a disclaimer, with every sport-based gambling, there is a noticeable amount of luck in this, so this video is going to age poorly, regardless.
Stay tuned.
Griddy has two main strategies for his team building: Hero Receiver and Triple Elite QB. Hero Wide Receiver is a version of the very popular Hero RB strategy, but instead of taking one elite running back in the early rounds, you take only one wide receiver. Triple Elite QB is a modification of the Double Elite Quarterback, where you take 3 quarterbacks in the early rounds. Rounds 1 through 7 are considered the early window of the drafts, where players are much more likely to have ceiling seasons and be the guy you need. Here's a breakdown of how Griddy's Hero Wide Receiver usually goes. So let's take a look at some of Griddy's drafts, starting with Hero Receiver. You can see Hero Receiver starts with 1 receiver in the first round, round 8. And then it's round 10 for the second receiver. This is Adonai Mitchell. It's actually around 11. So this is the general start. Here's another one. Let's click this one. This is actually double quarterback, but you see the same idea. Robin Wilson. This is all the way into round 13, 14. For the second receiver, click another one here. Double elite QB with a hero receiver. This one's actually a little bit earlier, Sutton in round 10. Let's do another one. AJ Brown, and once again, AD Mitchell. So that's the starting point here. Hero receiver. Usually hero receiver with Griddy has double elite quarterback with 2 quarterbacks in the first 7 rounds, and often an elite tight end. Let's pull the other ones up. Yeah, this one has a bully tight end, double elite. So he tends to put in elite running backs. You see elite running backs in this case, elite quarterbacks, and elite tight end before he takes his second receiver. Now we have the triple elite quarterbacks. As I mentioned, this is the 3 within the first 7 rounds. This one is actually 3 by round 4, the late round 4. Interestingly, this also has hero receiver, so we actually took later tight ends versus and later running backs than he normally would. Here's another one. Triple elite quarterback. This is still considered triple elite, kind of on the borderline. This is around early round 8. But you can see in this case, he actually took a massive hit because he took 4 tight ends. And yeah, this is probably one of his worst here. Round 11 as his first receiver. This is 0 receiver because he didn't really draft any. This one's actually interesting. He did take some double heroes. So this is what we call a double hero receiver, taking 2 receivers in that round 7 window and then waiting until around round 10. This is late round 10 for Brandon Cooks. This is 3rd. This one is actually also a early tight end. This one is actually one of the rare ones where he does triple elite receiver, which seems a little strange, but it's very unusual. I've only seen Griddy do this maybe 3 or 4 times. I think these are the only 2 out of the 20, if this isn't identical. All his teams look pretty identical, to be honest. So it's really hard to tell sometimes, literally just the same receiver, Marvin Harrison, in all 3 of these rounds. So it seems pretty clear he has a type even when he does triple elite receiver. This is a little different. But yeah. So he does do some variations on his drafts, but mostly, if you look at the majority of these, he's going to be taking his second receiver very, very late. Okay, bye. As you can probably tell, Griddy does not like drafting receivers early. Griddy takes the hero receiver strategy so seriously he becomes disgusted when he takes 3 receivers in the early window. Griddy's logic for hero receiver is that he has stronger players at the other positions and that his late round receivers will break out to compensate for his lost receiver points. Now, taking running backs this early isn't strictly a bad thing, but keep in mind in Best Ball Mania you have to start 3 receivers to 2 running backs, 1 quarterback, and 1 tight end. As math dictates, 3 is greater than 2. Players that aren't starting will not give you points in a week, so the extra tight end, quarterback, or 4th running back will often add 0 points to your team if your guys are good at football. Griddy tries to defend his draft strategies, particularly with triple quarterback, using the ping pong method. From what I understand, Griddy's idea with the ping pong method is that his second and third quarterback will fill in for the bad weeks for his first quarterback. But how many points can you really add when you need your best quarterback to be good and can only start 1 quarterback a week? Furthermore, tight ends and quarterbacks don't even separate from each other week to week as much as other positions, so you're guaranteeing 0 points at 2 positions with significant draft capital to add very little in return. Hayden Winks of Underdog Fantasy did a breakdown of round 1 scoring for 2023 teams based on when they drafted a certain number of quarterbacks. As we can guess based on how contrarian Griddy is, triple elite quarterback doesn't even have a data point because not even 1,000 of the 600,000 teams even attempted to draft 3 quarterbacks before round 10. But considering the lowest point average on the graph comes from 3 quarterbacks at round 10, you can imagine how triple elite quarterback would score.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I saw Griddy do like a Lamar Richardson Stroud team. It was far out.
Griddy even argues triple quarterback for the last 3 playoff weeks. Covering for bad weeks is also not ideal for a tournament that needs very close to the most optimal lineup to win. For example, here are the last 2 winners of Best Ball Mania. Many of the top scoring players in these lineups at important positions are in the window Griddy is spending on quarterbacks. And even more so, last year's winner had his top quarterback drafted in the 12th round, making 3 elite quarterbacks in some years completely pointless. Griddy tried to prove the 3 QB strat by using a team from last year off Best Ball Mania database, which I strongly recommend. This team did not even advance their pod. Good luck with this strategy this year, Griddy. This thread from Bernie's mustache and Griddy exemplifies how clueless Griddy is. Underdog enthusiasts are well aware of the term "the guy you need," referencing the player that dominates in a particular week that you almost have to advance.
It's the guy you need.
Each of the playoff rounds are single weeks and you only have 1 game from each player to do it. For example, here are the top scoring players last year by week. 2 key players at wide receiver last season were Amari Cooper with 11 receptions, 265 yards, and 2 touchdowns in week 16, and CeeDee Lamb with 13 receptions, 227 yards, and 1 touchdown in a championship week 17. Advancing teams need guys that have not only been good enough picks through the first 14 weeks of the fantasy season to make it past round 1, but also have had dominating singular weeks. Almost all of them have been the guy you need. This format is a game of a handful of players that matter and many, many more that don't. To exemplify this, here is a list of how often teams that made it to the finals last year had players in the first round or so. Last year was a very chaotic year, so take much of this with a grain of salt, but it's important to visualize how polarized the guy you need can be. I recommend checking the Fantasy Life page on this to get a visualization of how bottlenecked the advance rates can be at each position. While Griddy's players he drafted absolutely could hit, and some definitely will, Griddy will have to have 2 outcomes happen for him to succeed, and both have to happen. Outcome 1 is a lot more relevant for the first 14 weeks of round 1, but outcome 2 is absolutely essential for the playoff weeks, and I cannot stress enough how top-heavy this tournament is.
Does anybody want this? I don't know, this looks pretty beat up.
Now I hope the first question you're asking to all of this is, but why though? Why spend thousands of dollars on crazy teams that might not even advance? To answer this, remember what I said about Griddy and the roulette. Griddy is a contrarian that thrives on ambiguity and doubt. Griddy has a particular disease that inflicts groups like flat earthers, moon landing deniers, and Cowboys fans.
Stick it to the man, Neosis.
Contrarian. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say for now. This has been over a month in the making, and I'll wrap up this review of Griddy's insane strategies with a follow-up video within the next month or so. Good luck this year on all the betting sites you use, play responsibly, pray for your favorite players' knees, and stay tuned. He was a third pick in the draft, doing whatever he had to do to survive. I'm not saying that his strategy was right. Taking 3 quarterbacks early was a ridiculous sight. Been down so long, giving up didn't cross his mind. But I knew there's a better way of life that he just couldn't find. You don't know what you'll do until you're put under pressure. 20-second timers are a hell of a tester. Across 150 drafts, Griddy has a strategy that's weak. Across 150 drafts, Griddy's paying the rake for free. Across 150 drafts, Dune's trying to catch QB so elite. Ooh baby, across 150 drafts. That must be a nice fantasy. Ooh, oh. I got one more thing I'd like to talk to y'all about right now. Hey Griddy, there's a better way out. Triple QB chase Claypool, man, you're whacked out. Take my advice, it's a live or die. You gotta be smart if you wanna advance. The players in this underdog draft will catch hell without the idiots around. In every format you find the same thing going down. Receivers are the capital of every draft in town. How about we sing it? Across 150 drafts, Griddy has a strategy that's weak. Across 150 drafts, Griddy's paying the rake for free. Across 150 drafts, dude is trying to catch QB so elite. Ooh baby, across 150 drafts, you will lose it all. Underdog fantasy. And now look around you, look around you, look around you, look around you. Hit him with the Griddy. Ooh.